So technically we do not have history, okay, in the third year, but the way we see it in the school is that we look at the first 2 years as being a more kind of instructional course where we use mainly the modes of production as a system to understand how spaces have developed, how typologies have been kind of created, and of course, this has been done across various geographies. In the third year, which is in this fifth semester, okay, we look at this history course as being a place where we start actually laying down this entire set of ideas that we've probably seen in the earlier 2 years, okay, and try and look at mainly history of built objects, of spaces mainly, of how writing, one main thing is writing, how these spaces, how we write about them, how we understand them, and second thing is about the object itself and how this built object is understood. The historical built object is understood. What are the frameworks that one can use to understand them? What are the methods that are available to view this historical object? Okay, so the way we see this course is more of a um, discussion course, like in the sense that we will be giving you some input lectures, but it will also involve you working on an assignment all through the semester, okay, every class, because so every class will have both components, a lecture component as well as a discussion component. And the lecture component is what we will be kind of Sara and I will be kind of taking that, where we will be giving you these short input lectures, and the rest of the class will be used for this discussion of this structure that you will select. Okay, but we'll come to that later. Sara, you want to add something?
No, Jin, no, no.
Okay. Um, so I think maybe then we can just begin before we kind of introduce what the project is for the semester.
Right.
If you can just tell us what you remember or what you've learned from, or what you kind of think about history since you've kind of gone through the course for 2 years now. Okay, Shravan's hand is up. Yes, Shravan.
So we've been looking at how we've not just looked at the history of cultures, like we've focused on we focused on a lot of polytheistic religions across 2 years. We focused on the spaces they inhabit and how Egyptian temple architecture connected with their own religious views in the beginning, and how like informal and formal spaces were both used his in history. And also then in Greek mythology, we started with how their religious spaces were, but we moved on to the amphitheaters and the urban spaces as well, which was a nice change from the religious history, which is almost at the forefront of most architecture and history conversations.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
So, were they able to see the syllabus? Were you all able to see the syllabus that we
I
have?
don't think so.
No, no. Okay. Should I
I
show
don't.
them? Should I show them?
Yeah,
Huh?
okay, you can show it to
I
them.
can
You
do
can
that.
show
I'll
it.
do that right away. Okay. I'm sure you're able to see my screen. In case you aren't, let me know. Okay, so this is basically the structure of the course that we've kind of made for this semester. So in the first lecture of course, this is the introduction class, and we'll be looking at history and culture, the constructs and keywords. We will also be introducing the semester assignment to you, okay? Because this is largely going to be about the assignment that you will be bringing to class, okay? Uh, so from the second to the fourth lecture, okay, we're going to be dealing with the methods, okay? So there are three methods that we have identified, and each of these will be giving you, as Janella said earlier, will be giving you short lecture inputs on what these methods are. Okay, this would even help in kind of selecting, not only selecting the built object for your study, but also in terms of by employing these methods, you will be able to kind of understand the relevance and other aspects, okay, behind the built object that you are selecting for this particular assignment. Okay, so the second to the fourth lecture, we deal with the historical method, the ethnographical method, and the anthropological method. Okay. Then, of course, is the next lectures, which is 5, which is about building the map. Okay, we will be locating these objects. Okay. Then from lecture 6 and 7, okay, it talks about scales, network of relationships, okay, India and the world, and the network of relationships again in lecture 7, India and the world again, where you're basically constructing a timeline, okay, and placing this built object that you have selected, okay. Uh, then from lecture 8 to lecture 12, we have on writing history, okay, where we will be looking at, like how are you going to kind of put all of these together and make it into a kind of a narrative. Jin, am I missing out on anything, or is there something that you would?
No, 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 no.
Okay. Yeah, so roughly this is basically the course structure. Do you have any questions? Yes, Tanay. Tanay, did you have any question? Okay, does anybody have any questions?
These are individual submissions, right? Not
Yes.
group work.
These are going to be individual.
Yeah, actually also we, like I was saying earlier, that this is a project, so it's not just a submission only. You're expected
Yeah.
to work for every class. Now when I'm saying for, it doesn't mean always that there is a very large quantum of work. Okay, that's why when we are saying that it goes across the entire semester, it is primarily this, that you have enough of time, okay, to develop this project across the semester. It is not like how we've done history submissions earlier, where of course we looked at writing papers, but you were expected to turn that submission in at a certain time, maybe after every 4 classes or something like that. Now this project, and that's why I'm calling it project and not just paper, even though there is writing involved very clearly in this. Okay, this project is something that you will develop all through these 12 to 14 classes that we will be interacting. Okay, so that this is done for 2 reasons. One, that you're able to produce a more kind of much more a paper which is more academic in nature, and secondly also that there is not too much workload on you. Like you just said that you produce the paper for an interim submission, for maybe 2 interim submissions and a final submission. So you're working on different components of the paper all through. It's also going to help in academic writing. That's how academic writing works. You don't. It's about how you structure your argument, how you structure your paper. Here, of course, we are looking at the historical object. So, but within that, how would you like to build your argument? What are the components that you can use? And that's why also we are doing a kind of these lectures on methods also, so that you can use that framework to review the object that you are studying. Okay, and I'm saying this object in a very kind of I'm using this word very often because that is what we are going to be doing now. We are looking at it from a distance. Okay, but how we can look at it and how we can engage with it is also something that we will be seeing through the semester. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? So yeah, this is individual. Okay. You will be working on this. There is no group work, not working in pairs or anything. You develop, you select the object, you work on it individually.
So it's
Anyone,
like
any other questions? Yeah, Shravan, sorry.
it's like those extended essay, right? That the IB kids used to do. Those continuous like semester or year long essays which you keep adding to in some sense. I don't know if I'm using the right word.
No. What is that? Sorry, Shravan. What did you say?
No, I remember like in 11th and 12th, like some of my friends in IB used to have these extended essays, which is essentially just a long kind of essay which they keep working on and working on. And God knows that if they used to talk about it like it's a thing. Yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, I wouldn't like to call it an extended essay in that sense, okay? Because it is,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, because it's not just about writing, as Janella said, okay? It is actually kind of, it is a project where you are, involved in not just about writing the narrative, but also kind of, it's about identification. Why are you identifying this particular built object? What is it? What is the significance of it? Then how do you place it on the map? What is its relevance in the timeline? There's so many things that you need to kind of bring forth. Okay, it is not just about writing of the narrative. Yeah. So, in fact, when we meet, henceforth, we will be constantly asking you, okay, like, what have you kind of, or not just what the built object is that you have identified, but like other aspects of that built object, like what are the reasons for it, for that identification.
Right, yeah. I was talking
Yeah.
in the sense that like it because I think I don't know if it's an extended essay or this other thing where they used to choose the topic. Like I don't know. This whole thing confused me a lot, but apparently they used to like, have a thing where they have a project which they constantly work on through the year, and then every now and then they'd have like a submission type thing where the teacher would nudge them in the right direction and tell them how bad it is or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're okay. We're not here to say how bad things are. All right. I just
No,
hope.
that was just an IB apparently, or just a JNIS thing. I don't know. That school was weird.
Okay. All right. Uh, okay. Any other questions?
Wow, like no one has any questions.
I know. It's all clear then. Yeah. So okay. So
Seriously,
then.
no one has any questions. You all are all okay with what we are going to do. No comments, nothing. You already
I mean, I
like,
was under the impression that like we'll understand it as it goes.
acha,
Yeah,
okay.
that when you give us what as soon we progress towards it, we might get questions because but right now it is clear what you said.
All
Okay.
right, all
Great.
right.
That's nice. That's nice. So if we have to ask you, like, say the first lecture is also about, well, it's more like a discussion class that we're going to have, okay? Uh, eh, I know that we have already dealt with this question in probably your first year, okay? Like, what is history? Okay, and I know that over the last 2 years, I'm sure you have also been able to understand history a lot more differently, okay? And from maybe from a perspective also that we would either like to share it with us, or maybe bring forth some new light and realizations that have dawned upon you about what is history. But most importantly, okay, I think we also kind of need to understand this relationship that history and culture seem to have. Okay, and so I think to understand that relationship, we also need to understand like what is this culture that we keep speaking about, because there are so many different connotations to culture. right? And we always, like we say, like as Indians, you may be very well aware and very familiar also with the fact that when we talk about the Indian culture, we mean or imply certain things, huh? Or when we talk about our sanskar, what is it that what is this aspect of sanskar, or what is this aspect of culture that we keep like to we keep like to reiterate every now and then? What is that, and how do we connect it to history?
It's like a code of conduct.
A code of conduct. Okay. Is it just about the code of conduct? Yes, Shravan.
It's kind of a way of saying whether we've actually done this all this time or not. It's like saying, this is how we've been doing it, so we can continue doing it that way. Because
Okay.
apparently we've been doing it this way. We don't know if we have, but they're saying we have.
So it's more yeah, okay. So then it kind of like is an extension to what Fleur just said. Okay, that it is so it becomes a code of conduct in that sense. Okay, it becomes more like an unwritten rule or a norm that you tend to follow, because it has been passed on to you from generation to generation, and you believe that okay, this is the way life must go on. Is that it? Is there something more?
I think it is one of the lenses through which we look at things. Like it kind of decides like what is right or wrong in like conventionally right or wrong.
Okay.
So it kind of sets the standards for like the to compare other things to in a way.
Okay, okay. So, in other words, you're talking about a set of ethics, a set of values. Hey, na, like,
Yeah.
you're,
Mhm.
you're saying that these values and ethics have much to do with culture. And perhaps
Right.
that's the way we have always interpreted it to be, okay, or understood it to be. But is there something more when we say culture? We've used this term so often. I know that it is in fact even interpreted to some extent in a very wrong sense as well. Yeah, but are there more connotations to it?
हाय सारा।
Yes, hi.
हाँ, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कल्चर
Asha.
इज मोर लाइक अ थियरी ऑफ लाइफ की जो लोग पहले रह चुके यहाँ पे, तो उन्होंने कोई चीजें फील किया, उन्होंने कोई उनके ऑब्जर्वेशंस थे, एक्सपीरियंसेस थे, तो उसके बेसिस पे उनका कोई तो लॉजिक हुआ कि हम लोग ऐसे रह सकते, क्योंकि हर न्यू बॉर्न बेबी पहले से नहीं सीख सकता ना कि हमें सच बोलना चाहिए, हमें रिस्पेक्ट करनी चाहिए। तो वो एक थियरी होती है जो धीरे धीरे जैसे हम लोग आर्किटेक्चर की थियरी पढ़ रहे थे लास्ट टाइम की,
Right.
अगर कोई चीज कब उसे डिस्कवर मतलब फील किए, तो हम लोग ऐसे नहीं ना जीरो से वो फिर से फील करना शुरू कर रहे हैं हम लोग। तो वो रेफरेंस थियरी जैसा लगा मुझे कि एक थियरी होती है जो धीरे धीरे बिल्ड होती जाती है।
Okay. So, in other words, again, like you're saying that it is more like a continuation, okay, of maybe certain ethics or values that have been formed, okay. Maybe we don't know how many years ago, but we believe that this is a way to kind of maybe it's also a way of the preservation of a particular society, okay, or the preservation of maybe even the human race itself, huh? And yet we see that every society, we see that there are cultural differences that keep coming about, don't we? Hmm? Like we say that is Western culture, this is Indian culture. What marks Western culture is different from Indian culture? Yes.
मतलब मैं जो
हाँ.
बोल रहा था ना अभी, तो मेरा मतलब जैसे मैं देता हूँ इंडियन कल्चर को, तो मैं बहुत कम सोचता हूँ कि एथिक्स या ऐसे, क्योंकि एथिक्स
हाँ.
और वैल्यूज मतलब ये तत्व शब्द है ना, मतलब मराठी में तत्व, तो
सही
वो
बात.
काफी
हाँ.
रिजिड हो जाता है मेरे ख्याल से। तो
Correct.
और थियरी अलग है, क्योंकि थियरी को हम लोग क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं, चैलेंज कर सकते हैं, हम लोग उसे मोल्ड कर सकते हैं। तो
Right,
मैं नहीं
yes,
तो
yes.
मैं वो एथिक्स नहीं समझता, मैं समझता हूँ कि एक थियरी है, हम लोग उसे
हाँ.
बस प्रूव करने का ट्राई कर रहे हैं कि
True. But then that is the so that leads to another important question that uh, okay, we have cultural theories. Okay, there is no doubt about that. But does theory become a part of this culture, or is it something else altogether? Or we can theorize culture, huh? But culture is not just about, like you very correctly said, Sham, because theory is something that you can question. Okay, you can question, you can counter, you can say that this this does not apply here, I can bring about something else. Okay, or it can be challenged in so many different ways. But when we specifically deal with this word culture, na, it has so many different implications or meanings. Okay, values, ethics are part of it. There is also another, or let's say one important facet of culture that so far we haven't really spoken about, but it is also the belief system, no, that is a part of this culture, this word
The
culture.
religion.
Huh? Because when we say
The
that,
religion.
sorry,
So, I thought you
like
paused a second
religion,
because the
yes,
audio is
of
a
course,
bit.
even
Yeah.
religion
Yeah.
comes with its own ideas of culture. Yeah, and that is why we see that, like even when we see or do a comparative study of different societies across the globe, we see that belief systems have also enabled in the whole evolution of culture of a society. Huh? So we cannot kind of keep it away. Okay, it is in fact an integral part. It becomes an integral part of this understanding of culture. Yeah, because and that is also what helps us kind of differentiate, because what is this Indian culture that we are talking about has evolved over the years. And if you realize another important fact, it is also that this culture has evolved mainly because of the kind of influences we have had. Okay, it is not just one kind of influence that we have stuck on to. Okay, we have had several influences that have come across or that we have witnessed because of colonialism. Prior to that, of course, even the or even before the Mughal invasion, let's not forget the whole Aryan invasion. Okay, so all of these has had multiple implications on the culture of this land. Okay, I'll just give you one example. For instance, maybe many thousands of years ago, like for instance, homosexuality in this country or this land. Okay, the country was really very different from the way we can imagine it to be today. Huh? But homosexuality was not, in all probability, perceived to be, immoral or wrong or something like that. Okay. So what brought about this change? What brought about this change to this idea of, let's say, homosexuality?
The Roman Empire. I mean, it's a bit of a domino effect, but
Not really,
largely,
because even if you look at the Roman civilization, the Greek civilization prior to that,
I mean,
they
they
all,
kind of made it a bit more patriarchal than the Greeks, and then the whole pedophilia thing became.
okay, patriarchy is different. Huh? Because that is another
I know,
aspect.
because the Greek bisexuality and Roman bisexuality had its own weird things.
Yeah,
Like
but
in Rome, you had to be the how
yes,
do I put this?
but if I have to
You had
ask,
to be the active role for it to be.
right, but like in a country
I think
like
I understand that.
ours, okay, we had a different perspective about homosexuality. Okay, uh, how do you think that has changed? Why do you think it has changed? Because at one point in time, Okay, it was seen as okay, hota hai. It is like part of human society or whatever. But what brought about these changes? Colonialism, for instance, okay, played a big role, okay, in changing our attitudes towards certain things. Okay, so when we say that like we have become largely Victorian, we say that like the British had a major role to play in terms of influencing, okay, our culture as well. Okay, like homosexuality was declared as not just wrong, but it was supposed to be a criminal offense. It was supposed to be a crime. Who brought about this change? The British did. Okay, they enforced this. Okay, because this was actually seen in their culture. Okay, or in the culture that they had embraced. Okay, thanks to Christianity and its influence, they perceived this as something completely wrong. Okay, so they brought about the implementation of this norm into our land as and considered it to be criminal. Okay, and for the longest period in time, okay, we have also looked at it as a criminal offense. Yeah, so if you see, India as such has had so many such influences which have brought about drastic changes, okay, in the way we perceive the culture of the land also to be. Okay, and most of it is because of the influences of other cultures that that have been brought upon us. Okay, it is not just like this one culture that has been preserved from generation to generation. So you see how culture and history kind of work in tandem. Okay, they go together in a lot many ways. Are
Oh,
you? Yeah,
yeah, because you mentioned colonialism, and that's what kind of reminded me of the point I was trying to
right.
make. The Romans were actually like took Christianity, but modified it to a more Roman subset, which eventually led to the British kind of idea of the West, which led to colonialism. I mean, the Western colonialism or the British imperialism is two sides of the same coin at the end of the day, because they had their culture to
Hmm.
propagate.
Ah,
Also, I put something in chat, but it was kind of deviating from what you're talking about. Sham said no one to interrupt, so I put it in chat. If you want, we can address it,
yeah,
or if
I'm
you see.
just going through the chat box actually, and then yeah, okay, okay. All right. Uh, yeah, but what we're trying to establish here is how culture and history, okay, they are very closely connected in that sense. Hmm? Because when you look at history, okay, you see the kind of influences that have come about that have even brought about several changes, even in the idea of the built form itself. Okay, with with a certain, let's say, with a certain influence that was probably dominating the land at a particular period in history or time, we have seen the build form also change accordingly. Okay, because these cultural influences of our colonizers, okay, also affected the build form in varied ways. Yeah, are you getting what I'm saying?
Like how our lives are shaped by the build form, and the build form is shaped by the way we live our lives in that sense.
Yes, yes, to some extent, okay, but also the kind of build forms that have emerged, okay, in the period of history, okay, because the way the Mughals perceived, life, death, okay, has been reflected very strongly in the way they, in the build form that they brought about, okay. the way the British perceived, okay, the whole idea of modernization, okay, the aspect of trade, all of this can be reflected in the built form that they brought about. Okay, so if you see, the built form invariably, okay, gets affected because of these cultural influences that come about. Okay, these cultural influences shape the built form to a large extent.
Like
Okay,
how
and that is
post-independence architecture had its own identity to. Sorry, am I
ab-
interrupting you because my
no,
audio is a bit
no,
off
no,
and I'm
no,
anyway gravel deaf.
no, no, no,
Uh,
no. Please feel free. Yeah,
because when after post-independence, we were studying in architecture theory last year that we kind of tried to reform and bring this new Indian identity to the stage with modernism, and that's why we tried to, establish a new identity because the Victorian identity was now being associated with the British colonialism. So this
right.
independence required a new architectural identity for a newer institution.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so you see these kind of connections. Okay, you see the links. Okay, established between all of these. Okay, there is culture that influences, of course, had its impact on history and influenced the build form. Yeah. So any other kind of comments from the rest of the class? I do like Shravan's comments, even Sham's, but I'd like more people to say something more. Okay, you need to kind of add add it to this discussion. Otherwise, it will just be amongst the 4 or 5 of us.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, Ambika.
Sorry. Just a tiny little point. I was reading Bombay, the City is Within, and I think that also brought in another point of view of Bombay being this sort of palimpsest of different
Right,
histories and different narratives
right.
coming together to create so many, iconic structures and building so many communities. So yeah, that's
Absolutely.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but absolutely, that is so true. Okay. It is it like if you look at the city itself, it is evidence, okay, to this very fact that we are stating here, okay, that it is really, it has so many histories to it, and that's also because of the kind of cultural influences, yeah, that have shaped the city.
Right, I thought that was just a very clever way of also putting it, of comparing it to a sort of palimpsest.
Balances,
So yeah.
right. Is there anything else? Jin, would you like to add something more?
Sorry, but what's the palimpsest?
It's like
Please.
I could be wrong. Sorry, should I?
No. Go on.
It's like a writing material or piece of writing, and you keep basically writing on it. So in the sort of figurative sense where you keep superimposing things on top of it, and cultures merge, and there's a lot of influences that bring about change in that sense.
Yeah, you're quite right, actually. Okay, it is more on the lines of, that you keep writing, uh, over something else. Okay, and it's like this. What do you say? The earlier, whatever you have written earlier, okay, continues to remain. Okay, it is not kind of erased or written off completely. Okay, but over that writing, you write something more. Okay, you add to the layers. Okay, as Ambika rightly explained. Okay, you just see it in different layers.
Yeah, I think that since somebody brought up that idea of the palimpsest, I think it's an important idea, because even now when we will be
Yes.
picking these architectural objects to study and write about, I think that is something that will keep occurring over and over again. That this idea of the palimpsest of what are all these layers, okay,
Right.
and it kind of in some ways takes us back to that first kind of lecture we had about history, where we asked like, what is history really, So whether it is one particular narrative, whether it is what a large number of people remember, whether it is, the most kind of common narrative, is there something more? And I think that the palimpsest actually becomes a very important term, okay, to allow for this to say that there are these different layers, there are these different histories. And how do we then, like, even when we are looking at these objects, we're looking at these spaces, we also tend to pick one that suits our, our which suits us best, whether we want, because we choose to believe that as the most important one, or that as the most popular one. Okay, but I think it is important to remember that that all sites, because I mean these all buildings actually have gone through a considerable amount of time where they have seen, where they have evolved, okay, where they have evolved in a way because things around them have changed, things within them have changed. And the palimpsest then says that, okay, like, how do we acknowledge all these different changes? How do we acknowledge all these different influences that have been there on a structure? So I think that that is one kind of word we should hold on to through the semester, even when we are writing these papers that we will put together, across the semester. And somebody, anything else anybody wants to add? Should we, Sarah, should we then introduce the
Yes,
assignment project?
yes, yes.
Okay, so this project is pretty straightforward. Okay, there are like Sarah was sharing her screen earlier, and she was talking about the semester and how it is planned. Okay, there are various tasks for each class. Okay, now and we will be introducing the task to you at the end of every class. So what is expected in the next class? Sometimes we may even ask you to kind of work on it during class. So there's a mix of all these things. So the project that we will be doing is that we will be very simply writing the history, okay, of an architectural object, of a building. Okay. Now this building can be a standalone building. It can be a building within a complex. It can be a building with its own complex. Okay. Or when I said earlier, when I said a building within a complex, it could be one of the buildings within a complex of other buildings as well, or it could be just a building with its own within its own complex. Okay. So each of you need to pick a site, need to pick a building, an architectural object that you would like to work with through this semester. Okay, because we will be writing the history of that architectural object. Okay, now when we are asking you to pick the building, this especially since we are in this online mode and in this kind of pandemic, we would urge you to pick a building that is within your own locality, okay, within your own neighborhood, um, or even if it's not, or you think that you want to pick something that is outside your neighborhood, please let it be where you are currently based right now. Okay. Now, the reason we are asking you to do this is very kind of we just have kind of one main reason, is that we would like more of a primary data from you instead of secondary data where you will read about them. Of course, I'm not saying that you won't be reading or you won't look up this this building that you've selected through secondary sources, but it is also important that you pick this you pick a building which you will be able to visit. Okay, you pick a site that you will be able to visit, and that is why let it be in an area that you are currently based. Okay, now even when we are asking, we're saying that you should be able to visit this site. Of course, we mean that it is with all kind of safety. Your safety and kind of your safety is paramount. Okay, just because it's a fantastic building, you think it's a fantastic building, you do not need to compromise on safety at all. And safety, we mean both. If you think that the building is dangerous, if the building is dilapidated, if the building is in ruins, and you think it is not safe, please don't go. Or also, just because of the pandemic, we would say avoid such kind of structures. For the next class, okay, so through the semester, at the end of the semester at least, you will have a paper, okay, where you will be writing the history of this object, of this building that you've selected. For the next class, the task for the next class is that each of you will have to bring that one object, okay, and you will also have to give us a justification as to why you have selected this structure. Okay, when we are saying this justification, one is, of course, we've only given you the criteria saying that it has to be in your locality, or it has to be at least in the area where you're staying right now. But the second thing is, as part of the justification, you'll have to at least bring us some basic data, okay, about this structure, like what is its name, if you're able to find out the age, okay, this very very basic information for the next class. Okay, if you think that you have more than one structure and you would like to bring two, you can do that as well. Okay, but the intent of this course is also to write a history, or to write, let's just call it history. We'll just, like, for now, let's just call it a description. We want to write descriptions of structures that are not very well known. Okay, that they're not very well known, because there are some, no matter where we live, okay, there are some which are very well known. They are part of tourist circuits. Even you kind of would frequent them, not just tourists. Even if you're living in the same area, you would frequent it. It's very well known. But there are also sites which sometimes is part of your landscape, is part of what you see every day, is part of what you know. But you do not know anything further than saying that, okay, it is an old structure and it exists and it is over there. Okay, so if you can also look for such structures. So we're very specifically asking, do not bring these. We're not even asking you to bring these very monumental structures. Okay, you understand what monumental is, right? That they're very large, very well known, probably also very well kept. Okay, they can be small structures, like they can be temples in neighborhoods. Okay, and I'm sure they may have had additions over a period of time, but there will be smaller glimpses which will let you know that these are very old objects, or they're very old buildings. Okay, they could be temples, they could be sometimes even community spaces, like like in I'll just give you an example. In Matar Pakadi, okay, which is in Bombay, it's a Gautan. Okay, it's very well known, okay, as a Gautan, very kind of famous. A lot of tourists visit it. You have a lot of walks, heritage walks, and all these things happening there. And everyone goes to see this kind of quaint lifestyle, okay, because you get these tags get put onto it. But within that Matar Pakadi, which is, because it's a Gautan, which is primarily residential, okay, there are a lot of houses. But one kind of interesting structure within that is something which is called a chamari. Okay, and this chamari is like a club. So even, like I'm saying, that even within these sites, sometimes there are these unique, probably, typologies which no one knows much about, or it kind of tends to kind of get lost within these kind of larger spaces that are more well known. Okay, so I would suggest that you even look for structures like that. So you may kind of start with a site or a place that is very well known, but you may find a building that is more kind of, that is unique. Okay, so we are looking for, like I was saying, I'm going to repeat myself. We're looking for more kind of local structures. Okay, that in places that you're, I know we also know that since we are kind of in this online mode, a lot of you are not in Bombay, and I think that makes it very interesting. because we will be able, because if we were doing this exercise, if we were in the offline mode, almost all of you would be just kind of looking for structures in Bombay. So it's very interesting for us that it's actually working to our advantage, where we will get to see structures outside of Bombay, and we'll be able to write these histories of buildings which we, at least I don't know about. Okay. Shravan already has his hand up. Yeah, Shravan.
Sorry, but if I have an object that's physical presence is far outweighed by its cultural presence, like if I talk about the last of the seven bungalows, like seven bungalows in area, yeah, we know it, but those bungalows themselves have their own history, which is kind of ancillary to the seven bungalows area, but they're still like, so I mean, obviously, when I'm studying one of them, can I study like all the seven bungalows with a specific focus on the one that survived? Because I think as of 2014, it was there.
So I didn't
still
hear
might
that very
be.
clearly, but did you say seven bungalows?
Yeah, the last of the seven bungalows.
The last of seven bungalows. Okay. But yeah, okay. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I've read an article about it online.
Yeah,
I'm just trying
as
to
of
see that.
2014, it was fine. I don't know now if anything happened to it in the last 7 years, but very unlikely.
No, it's still there. It's very much there. It's very much there.
Yeah. So then when I do that, can I also study the other seven as ancillary topics, like because they are connected to its cultural history, right? Otherwise, it would just be the bungalow instead of seven bungalows.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see as the as we move through the semester, we'll see how it works. Like like I was saying earlier, also, it depends on how you want to structure the argument, how you want to write the paper. So sometimes it may require you to write a little, or kind of do a little more research beyond that object. So we'll see how it works. Let's kind of just move task by task, and then we'll see how it is.
And in terms of the time scale, obviously, if it's a newer structure, we'll be looking at it in more detail, whereas an older structure will kind of gloss over certain periods, right? Based on how old it is. Okay.
Kashvi, your hand is up.
Yeah, and which part of the week are we supposed to visit the site? Because actually, in a month, I will be moving to another city. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Tough question. I don't know how to answer that. Where are you right now, Kashvi?
Right now I'm in Patna, but by end of July, we'll be moving to Delhi.
To Jaipur?
To Delhi. Like, right now I'm in Patna.
Okay. Okay. So, but you still have a month's time. I think that's like more than enough time for you to collect information about. So let's stick with Patna only.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes, Tanvi.
So is there like a kind of particular typology that we have to look for the house? Like, should it be residential or anything, or it can be anything like residential, commercial, or whatever?
It can be anything. It can be anything. There is no typology. I mean, if you have any unique typologies also, that is great. There is no kind of fixed typology. They're just saying that it should be more of a local building, which is not very well known.
And also, is there like a minimum time frame that it should have been built before, like so that it should be at least this old. The particular building should be at least this old. Is there like a time frame for that, or can it be anything?
No time frame, no time frame. But I would say at least maybe let's what this as a number, say 40-50 years.
Yeah, I think it would be better.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's no time frame, but let's say it should have been built at least 50 years ago or 40 years ago. Even 40 in some places can be like quite fabulous. Let's say 40 years ago. Okay. Somebody else had their hand up. Was it Shama?
No, I just wanted to ask the same question.
All right. Okay, fine. Okay. So also, what we were thinking was that should I set up a Miro board, or will you set up a Miro board for this project? So each of you for next class, very simply just make a simple template, which may be like an A4 size template for now, where we're able to see at least 2 or 3 photographs maximum of this place that you select, and below it a small kind of little information about what is the name of the structure and when it was built. This is doable, everybody?
One Miro board and 240 pictures may just load very slowly if
No,
all of
yeah,
us are
again
using
for
one.
thesis, the students, we used to have the entire panel, na, Sarah, on it, and
Yeah,
it used to
Mine
be
gets
fine.
my Miro gets super jammed easily. Even if it's one picture, 88 people, it gets jammed easily for me because it gets my
Really?
network.
Because we have not had this problem when it does, when this has come to juries, especially
Over
at the
time, I'm talking overtime. Obviously, not the first class,
overtime.
but overtime it
Okay,
happens.
okay.
So
Yeah.
if 80 of us use the Miro board together, no one will be able to upload it because it hangs a lot. So maybe we could divide it because
Okay,
we had the same problem in AD ka jury. All of
all
us had
right.
Miro board and no one was able to upload.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so let's do this then. Let's make 4 Miro boards, 20, 20, 20. That should be
That would be
fine, I think.
better.
Yeah.
That
So
should
you
work.
just simply like roll number wise, 1 to 20, 21 to 40. So just like 4 Miro boards, and roll number wise, we'll just it'll be easier for us to keep track of it also, and for you all also to figure it. So do you all want me to set up the Miro board, or will you all set it up?
I think you all can do it, no?
We can do it.
4 of you can.
Tanvi, you were saying something?
Yeah, we can do it. We'll do it.
Okay, so then just kind of put the links as well on this chat, okay, so that it is there over here, and everyone can kind of keep so it's always there for us to go back to.
Aditya, you have something to ask? Your
Yeah.
hand is up.
You were saying like I had a doubt about like site selection. So do we have to particularly select one site, or like if the building object or the something is like a spread out sort of a thing it is like a system which is kind of spread out. So do I have to like particularly select one part of that system, or I can like have multiple sites?
What do you have in mind, Aditya?
Like I was thinking of like this so I'm in Aurangabad, so the Nahare Amri system, like I studied it in second year also, in first year also, so I kind of like have know much of it, so it is kind of a spreaded system across Aurangabad. So I was thinking about
No, so that system won't really work for this exercise because we are looking at an architectural object. So within that system, if there is one particular structure that you want to pick, whether it is one of those gardens or something like that, because I know the system has many components now.
yeah,
Pick one thing. Um, you can kind of make a reference to the system, but pick just one building.
okay,
That the system would be too large.
yeah, thank you.
Any other question?
Everyone's clear about what has to be done, at least for the task for next class, right? Anyone has any questions about that? Any suggestions? Any comments?
Okay.
So when we study it, it just has to be like a study of how we just have to study it, history or anything particularly, anything else in particular, like focus on the architecture in any way, or just the history of it right now.
How are they separate? I'm just wondering.
No, in
I
the
don't
sense
see
that,
this.
like if like any kind of partially do we have to study it like how we study an architectural site, or mainly on a historical viewpoint of architecture?
But that is also like I don't know, like that's what I'm saying. For me, if those things are connected, no, like even when
Right.
Sarah was discussing with all of you about culture, like that, I think that was about it, no, like how these things are they are connected. There may be one particular theme, but there are so many influences to that theme. So even if we're saying we are writing the history of a building, obviously like its layout is something, the layout is the most kind of basic, but why things have been laid out in that particular way, is it kind of reflecting a certain way of living, is it reflecting a certain idea of society at that time? They're connected, no? Okay,
All right,
anybody?
so I'll figure it out as I go then.
Yeah, anyways, yeah, that's what I think. In the course of time, you will be able to figure it out better. Right now, I'm sure it's a little muddled, but that's okay. Don't worry. We will be anyways looking at your work every now and then. Any other question?
Yeah, I have a question. Even I have a similar situation like Kashvi. Like I am in my native right now. In another 2 weeks time, I'll be back in my home. So, like, which place should I actually choose?
Your home preferable, no?
So,
Or
like,
unless you have something better here, I don't know. Like you'll have to, because if you're going to be, you said 2 weeks, no? Only 2 weeks, right?
yeah.
Then I think you need to. What do you say, Jill? I think it would be. But where is your home and where are you right
Yeah,
now? That's
yeah.
important, I think.
So I am right now. I'm in Prayagraj, near Prayagraj. So, and my home is in Bangalore.
I'm still getting used to this new name. Okay.
Yeah. And one more thing, like, should it like be a community building or should it be like something that is a residential is also fine?
I think Jin has already answered this question.
See, like I think that you have one thing you have to remember, that this is this building that you pick, no, should be interesting enough that you are able to engage with this building through the whole semester, because this is at least going to go on for 12 weeks. Okay, so pick a building that you think is interesting enough to hold your attention and excitement for 12 classes. The second thing, there is no specification about what this building should be. It can be anything. It can be, like I was saying, it can be any typology, right? It can be whatever, residential, commercial, community, religious, anything it can be. Okay, so the only thing is, I was saying that try as much as you can and get buildings that are not very well known, that probably only which is more localized, more specific to a locality, to an area. Okay, there are a lot of structures like this which we don't know about, and that's why I was saying that try and stay away from the monumental. You don't need these very large, and these very large buildings are not going to be kind of possible also to work with at an individual scale. So remember what kind of constraints you're working with. One is that you're doing this project by yourself. Second, it is going to be at least for 12 weeks. And third is that there is this pandemic. So there may be restrictions on how much you can access, how often you can access. So think about these things, and that's why we're saying that not very large structures, they can be smaller. Okay, what interesting things will you be able to find out? Because interest is of is very important here. Like if you know everything, it's like ठीक है ना, मेरे को बस क्या करने का है, and that engagement will show through the paper as well. Okay, so try and so I would say that not very large structures. They can be residential, yes, but remember these things, that residential buildings often have only as much information that they can provide. Okay, of course you can find out more things about, like, who are these people, where did they kind of come from, and why did they build these things. But residential buildings sometimes have those restrictions. I'm not saying it cannot be interesting, but there is a limited set of data that you can get from a residential building.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Shravan has his hand raised.
Sorry. If it's a building that we cannot enter but we can view it from outside, is that a no-go, or does it depend on the size of the building?
See, at some point of this project, no, you will have to speak to people also. Like, what do they know? What do people around remember? So if you cannot access it, I don't think it should be really a problem. But I would like to see what is the building on the inside as well. Like outside, there's only a certain, you're only able to see surface, facade. But inside also probably there's something interesting which, like, I'll give you an example of that La Martiniere College. Okay. From the outside, it looks like a really nice school and everything. And on the inside, it was the story of the building is such that it was a residence which was then converted into a school. But when you actually see the building on the inside, okay, it's completely crazy, because there are these very kind of ornate finishings which are now being used for the school. And at the same time, there are these rooms which are a little strange, because you're wondering, like, why is like a chapel, why is like a bathing place next to a chapel? So sometimes, these old buildings throw up really interesting things. So I would say if you're able to visit the building, you're able to see it on the inside, it will be fun. But if you can't, then that's also all right. Okay, sometimes buildings are very
If I
straightforward.
can't, but I find at least pictures of the interior, even that's somewhat acceptable, right? Not as good as going inside, but at least
See, if
some
they are
view.
residences, no, I would say it is important that we see them on the inside also, because outside se itna
Acha.
kuch nahi samjhega. At
Right.
least for residences. Other structures, at least, chalo, you may know some things from the outside. But I don't know, at least in my head, I don't see. Na, Sarah, what do you think? I don't think so. Like, just by seeing from the outside,
No,
you know it.
no. I think it's important to kind of have access,
Yeah.
to within the premises as well, because otherwise it doesn't make sense.
Like, what you'll see, like, you'll see it, okay, fine. And I mean, I don't know. I think
Don't judge
it
the
would
book
be
by
nice.
its cover.
What you said? What
I
you
said,
said?
don't judge the book by its cover.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
For Mumbai, finding an old place and then finding an old place which I can go in easily, that's not a large scale institutional building. That might.
But if you actually go to sites, we always we preempt so many things now. But if you go to site, people are very happy to kind of just chat with you, and if you just if you tell them, you kind of go with this very formal kind of thing that I am doing a study and everything. They are like, okay, okay, we can't understand what you're doing. But if you just start talking to them, chatting with them, it's amazing that what people will kind of show you and allow you to kind of go see. They say, go climb, take my stool, go climb up roofs, and it's a lot of fun. You just have to talk to them in a very kind of chatty way.
Yeah, I actually have the opposite experience. Like you start if you're saying by a college thing, they're actually interested. Like, oh, what college? What are you studying? What's it about? And then the conversation kind of escalates.
Also, when you say, like, I mean, we've seen this very often that if you say you're from an architecture college, at least, I don't know, now in the pandemic, maybe probably people are happy to see anyone new, but they would be like, oh God, ye log to development log aa gaye. So they would even tell you कि अरे हमको हमारा building develop करने का, ये तोड़ दो ये पुराना building. Or they'll be like, आपको क्या चाहिए, आप रहे जा. And if you say you're from Kamla Raheja, then they'll be like, oh, developer. You're like, it's quite crazy. But yeah, whatever. Okay, anyone else? Any other questions? All right, should we then end this class now, Sarah?
Yeah, I think we can. If there are no questions, then I think we'll stop here. and see you guys next week.